in public. Thank you. Welcome, and councillors and officers, and thank you for attending. Also, welcome to members of the public, if there are any, and security. Please, if you object to being filmed, let us know. And can I remind you, debates to be undertaken through the chair, that's me. If you can keep background noise to a minimum. We will be using cue to speak. I'm sure you're all familiar with that now. Before we start the business, can we take a moment to remember former St Edmundsbury councillor Charles Bradbury, who died in May. He was elected to the Southgate ward in 2007 and served till 2011, and he was vice chair of Policy Development Committee, and we send our condolences to his family and members. I'll ask that we stand and have a minute's silence, but again, before I do, if we could also reflect on the horrific death of Anne Widdicombe during that silence. Thank you. Thank you, members. Moving on with the agenda. Item 1 is minutes. Today we've got 3 sets of minutes to go through. I've decided to take those 3 one by one in terms of the vote. They are first are the set of minutes for the meeting of the 24th of March 2026. If I could have a proposer. Thank you, Councillor Waterman, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Are there any comments on those minutes? It doesn't look like it, so we'll move to the vote. Those in favour? Thank you. Any against? No. I think that's unanimous. So the motion, sorry, I didn't ask for any abstentions, but no. So the motion is carried. The next set of minutes was the annual meeting on the 12th of May 2026. If I can have a proposer for those. Thank you, Councillor Waterman, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Lukanuk. Are there any comments on those minutes? I can't see anybody on the queue. So we'll move to the vote. Those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? No, so that's carried. Thank you. Finally, the minutes of the extraordinary meeting on the 12th of May 2026. Again, can I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Waterman. Seconder. Councillor Higgins, thank you. Are there any comments? Councillor Smith. Sorry.
Sorry. We meeting on the 12th of May? Sorry. What's the extraordinary meeting on the 12th of May? I thought it was later than that.
Yeah. Extraordinary meeting that followed the annual general meeting. We're not talking about the urgent meeting
right, okay,
a couple of weeks ago.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. When can we get minutes of the extraordinary meeting 2 weeks ago?
Probably at the next meeting. Okay, they're yet to be written. Okay. I think I got a proposer and a seconder for that. I have to try and remember now. Thank you. Okay, moving to the vote. Those in favour? Okay. Any against? And any abstentions? So that is carried. Thank you. So the minutes for the meeting held on the 24th of March and both the meetings on the 12th of May are confirmed as accurate records. Thank you. Moving on to item 2, which is the chair's announcements. I'm sure you've all read the engagements. The only thing I would say is that last week I attended the 48th Wing Change of Command at Lake and Heath, and it was great to hear the expressions of alliance and friendship from the outgoing commander, the incoming commander and the regional commander. It would be nice if those sentiments were taken further up the command chain. Let's hope. Moving on to item 3, announcements to include apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've received apologies from councillors Michael Anderson, Andy Drummond, Paul Furman, John Griffiths, Rachel Hood, Birgitta Major, Andrew Smith, Sarah Stamp, Jim Thorndike, Adrian Whittle, Phil Whittam and Richard Rout.
Thank you, Teresa. Moving on to item 4, public participation. We have no members of the public registering to speak.
Did you do item 4?
Oh, item 4. I do apologise. I missed out item 4. Declarations of interest. Usual thing here. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any interest no later than when that item on the agenda is reached. Are there any interests to be declared now? Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Moving on to item 5, public participation. And we have no members of the public registered to speak, so I'll move directly to the next item, which is the leader's statement, item 6. Members may ask the leader questions on the content of the leader's statement or on any council matter. Minutes is allowed for each question to be asked and answered. There's a maximum time of 30 minutes allocated to this item, but I'm allowed to use my discretion if we get a lot of questions. So I invite Councillor Waterman, Leader of the Council, to introduce his statement.
Excuse me. It's been a busy few weeks. So let's start with Barnham RAF camp. First of all, thank you to everybody, every one of you councillors who was able to make the extraordinary meeting at such short notice. I want to say your unanimous support meant I could write a very clear letter to the Home Office setting out our position, backed by evidence, focused on why RAF Barnham camp is not the right place to house asylum seekers. We're working very closely with Councillor Andrew Smith, who's the ward member, and Barnham Parish Council to support them. In fact, they're having a parish council meeting tonight, and we've put in support to make sure that runs smoothly. They are doing a great job of representing their residents, and I take my hat off to them, staying calm in what can sometimes be a fraught situation. In addition, you'll also be aware I've subsequently written to Alex Norris MP, the Minister of State for Border Security and Asylum. In that letter, I highlight the impact of the Breckland Special Protection Area and Special Area of Conservation on the feasibility of establishing accommodation for asylum seekers at Barnham Camp. These internationally designated wildlife sites are of particular importance for the conservation of the stone curlew, supporting one of the largest breeding populations in Europe. This is, of course, something Councillor Lucanik pointed out to our last meeting. Given their international conservation status, any proposal for development within or near the SBA and SAC must be assessed in accordance with the Conservation of Habitats and Species Regulations 2017 as amended. We know this has prevented development in the past, and I will of course keep you all up to date as I get more information, but we are hopeful that this will stop the proposal to use RAF Barnham for asylum seekers to go ahead. I'm also calling on all political and community leaders to help calm the situation on the ground with the protests outside the base. If anything is going to cause distress to the local population, it's surely the sight of crowds of angry people stirring each other up and getting angrier and angrier. Last Sunday, the road passing the base had to be closed briefly because of these demonstrations. Our approach, endorsed by us, the council, is to make the rational case for why this site is not suitable. Rabble-rousing will not have any effect. In fact, it may even harden the resolve of the Home Office to push ahead so as not to be seen to bow to the mob. We saw over the weekend the effect of the terrorist threat to the Islamic meeting being held near Ipswich. And so the last thing our local police forces need is the extra pressure of policing these crowds. If I may, I'll move on to Forest City. I have written to all of you councillors, updating you on our joint opposition with Cambridge County, East Cambridgeshire and South Cambridgeshire District Councils to the Forest City 1 plans. I know many of you in this room have been fighting these proposals, and we've been doing our bit, providing evidence to show this is ill thought through and harmful to our area, especially to the horse racing industry. I've written to all the local MPs, as well as parish and town councils, to explain that a joint letter from myself and the other council leaders has gone to government, urging them to oppose the plans and listen to their own New Towns task force, who have already rejected the proposals. I will update you once I get a reply. Moving now to Haverhill Town Centre. You may have seen in the Cabinet papers published this week that we will be discussing plans to invest £1.63 million in transforming Haverhill Town Centre. This will pave the way for improvements designed to increase visitors, support local businesses and create a more vibrant high street. The proposals include refurbishing the former HSBC building, creating a more welcoming market square and delivering further public space improvements that will make the town centre easier to navigate, more attractive to visit, and a better place to spend time. I know this has been a joint effort in developing the plans, including residents and a dedicated steering group consisting of representatives from all 3 tiers of local government. I'd like to say thanks to all those who have contributed, as well as in particular to Councillor Indy Wijanayake for his leadership in bringing this to fruition. Now, I couldn't stand up here tonight and not mention the World Cup. And I'll be honest with you, probably I know less about football than anyone else in this room, apart possibly from the chief executive. But even so, I reckon, well, no, I'm not going to predict. I don't want to jinx it. But we've been doing our bit to support local businesses make the most of the opportunity presented by the World Cup. We've been helping pubs and licensed venues with staying open longer as the games have been played at unusual times and in the early hours, following government guidance. Applications have increased for businesses to stay open by 40%, from 57 in June last year to 80 in this year. West Suffolk Council have been able to tell businesses about the changes to national guidance and process applications on time, so landlords did not fall foul of the law, sorry about this, and get a red card. Did apologise. In addition, we followed government requests and showed our support for the national side by flying the England flag while the Three Lions side are in the competition. And I'm really glad to say it's still flying today after Saturday's win against Norway. Who knows how long it will be flying, fingers crossed. Our flag is a proud symbol of the unity and diversity of our communities, all coming together to support our national team. On the subject of flags, green flags. News hot off the press today The Council's commitment to maintaining high-quality parks and green spaces has once again been recognised this week. Our 6 main large parks and open spaces have today been awarded Green Flag status for another year. This achievement marks the 7th consecutive year that all 6 sites have successfully met the nationally recognised standard. And I was with Councillor Shipp yesterday. I know it was embargoed, but we took a photo anyway. And it was great meeting some of the gardening team. They really are, fantastic people, and they do such a good job for us, as do some of the volunteers who help in the parks as well. And certainly in Bury yesterday, the Abbey Gardens looked fabulous. I'm sure the parks in other parts of the district look equally as good. So well done, and thank you to all those people who've made that happen. A bit like the World Cup, another blindingly obvious thing to mention is the heat wave. What heat wave, I hear you asking? I just wanted to say thank you to all our staff who've been working in this hot weather delivering services. From emptying bins, managing our markets, maintaining our parks and open spaces, grass cutting, to people supporting the homeless and vulnerable, to name just a few. Communities have also been doing their bit by bringing ice lollies and cold drinks, and this has been very much appreciated. You will have seen Anglia Water has imposed a hosepipe ban, and we're doing our bit to help share that information as well. So, hang on, I've got my papers in a muddle here. So I just wanted to talk a bit about summer savings. From Vikings and England's first patron saint to Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, not sure what that is, and Shakespeare in the Park, there's lots to enjoy with summer savings in West Suffolk. The Great British Summer Savings Scheme temporarily reduces VAT from 20% to 5% on qualifying family-focused entertainment venues, including museums. This relief runs across England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland from the 25th of June to the 1st of September, and includes some of the venues run and managed by us, by West Suffolk Council. That means summer savings on tickets to Moyses Hall Museum and on children's tickets to a summer programme of theatre in the parks, all organised and run by us. In my statement, heading now, supporting our young people. In my statement, I wrote about the success of Crucial Crew and the record number of pupils we've helped this year. In addition to that, this school holiday, there will be acrobatics, roller disco, see 1 or 2 people going, oh, it's only for the children. Roller disco, paddleboarding and pony care and grooming among the free activities taking place in West Suffolk. They're part of the National Holiday Activities and Food Programme, otherwise known as HAF, which is primarily aimed to support children who receive benefits-related free school meals. It was set up to help support them during the school holidays when they may not otherwise get a hot meal. But there are discretionary places available to other families who could do with a little bit of extra support at this time. The Summer Holiday Programme of Activities is government funded and has been coordinated by West Suffolk Council on behalf of the County Council. In total, the West Suffolk programme will offer more than 5,035 places held across 444 sessions. West Suffolk is working with 30 providers this summer, 6 of which are new, to provide a strong mix of activities that will appeal to children and to teenagers up to and including the age of 16. I'm just a bit disappointed that axe throwing wasn't mentioned because I enjoyed that a couple of years ago. Finally, I want to, well, not finally, I'm one of those annoying speakers who says finally and then goes on for another 10 minutes, but I won't. So I won't say finally. Penultimately, Thriving Communities Fund. I just wanted to thank Councillor Higgins and the Council's Grant Working Party because I know their job is about to get a lot harder, but in a good way. For tomorrow, community projects that will benefit the lives of residents in West Suffolk will be able to apply for grants for the 27-28 year from West Suffolk Council's Thriving Communities Fund. The Thriving Communities Fund, which is open to charities, community groups and voluntary organisations, has already invested in 38 projects during this current year. Now the fund will be open for applications for 27-8, with more than £260,000 available. I'm telling you this so you can encourage groups in your wards to apply. Applications have to be in by midday on Friday, the 25th of September. That sounds like a long way off, doesn't it? But we all know these dates come steaming towards us without us realising. They will then be considered by the Council's Grant Working Party, who will make recommendations to the Council's Cabinet to decide in February, with grants then paid in April next year. So thank you to Councillor Higgins and the Grant Working Party for your future work on this. As I know, every year we see some great applications from groups doing vital work in our communities. This is finally now. I know this has been a long report, so you've been very good. No one's booed or hissed. Thank you for that. Can I briefly give a little feedback from the LGA conference that I and other members of council attended last week? In Bournemouth. And I have to say, not once did I see any of our councillors on the beach with their shoes off swimming, but, you know, it's a hard life. One of the recurring themes at conference was the safety of councillors and calls to strengthen the measures taken to ensure that. In the light of the murder announced at the weekend of another politician, can I just remind all councillors of Operation Ford and the enhanced security it provides with our own dedicated police officer to call on. Can I also really end by saying that we can recognise our political differences. We have some enormous political differences in this room, but still stay civil towards each other and recognise that we're all in it for the best possible reason, which is to help our communities. And can I say that I'm really glad that this council upholds that ideal and that we can all feel proud of how we conduct ourselves. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. I'll now invite questions. I already have a couple on the queue. Councillor Waldron.
I wonder if the leader knows about the insidious use of HMOs that's taking place in Beck Row. They're using four-man HMOs to spread. I won't say they're illegal. I don't know that they're illegal, but spread people of interesting heritage around Beck Row to get round the HMO regulations, which more than four you have to apply for planning, etc., etc. We've got three now that are just four-man.
Thanks, Councillor Waldron. I don't know the details of each HMO, but I know they are used by the Home Office, but the company, it's Serco and another company whose name I forget, who organise them. We don't have an awful lot of say. I think we're sometimes asked our opinion of whether they're suitable, but they don't necessarily follow what we say. So I think the best thing I can do, Don, is probably say that I'll ask for a written answer to go into more detail about that, because I really don't know the details, but thanks for that question.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. Councillor Brown.
Can you hear me now? Is this okay? Right, thank you. I'll start again. Thank you. Yeah, I was pretty shocked to hear our leader describe legitimate peaceful protest by nearby residents at Barnham as a rabble. These are people that some of those feel that they've lost their voices and have got nowhere to go. For them to legitimately have a peaceful protest, and as far as I'm aware, there was no trouble from the news that I see, and to be described as a rabble, I think is unbecoming. Would we also describe, the people that protest outside American air bases around nuclear weapons as a rabble? Would we describe the people that rightly protest in London around what's happening in the Middle East as a rabble. Describe people as a rabble for using their legitimate right to protest, I think is unbecoming of the leader, I'm afraid. And I know you're not that sort of person, Cliff. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony, for that question. I did think carefully about whether I'd use those sorts of words, and you're absolutely right. There is absolutely a free country. Everyone can protest, but I know from past experience, we know from past experience that these demonstrations outside asylum hotels and outside other places where asylum seekers are kept often do become nothing more than an excuse for certain people to sound off and try and whip up hysteria. I do know from reports we've had from the appropriate authorities that many of the people at Barnum are not local. They're being bussed in from other parts of East Anglia. And all I would say would be, if you've got a genuine concern, then you should be talking to your local councillors. And that's the way to go in a democracy like ours. And, the road between Bury St Edmunds and Thetford was cut off briefly on Sunday because of the number of people there. And I do know that in some other places where there've been asylum seekers housed, it's kind of turned into a Sunday event. You've got ice cream sellers, you've got people being bussed in from all over the country. That is no good at all to either the people who live there or to the asylum seekers who will be housed there. And I could go on with other examples of how these things have degenerated and turned into, frankly, quite unseemly events. So I do take your point, but I think, having made the point with one demonstration, and no doubt there'll be a demonstration if and when that gets the go-ahead, and I hope it won't. I do think we can expect better behaviour, especially from our elected officials.
Thank you. Councillor Glossop.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask Cliff, please. You're keeping councillors well informed about what we as a council are trying to do about RAF Barnum. But my ward, 3 of my parish councils are very close, and I'm getting last night I was at a parish council meeting, and they are concerned, and I just wish to ask how you propose, or the council propose, is to make sure that our parish councils are kept up to date, because if they're not kept up to date, they go off on a tangent and imagine all things. And so I'm requesting that we keep them up to date as much as we can, please, because it would be very helpful, because I can't always answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay, Susan, thanks for that question. I think it's a very reasonable request, and I'll pass that on and make sure it's actioned.
Thank you.
Because obviously it does affect people in a wider area. So thanks for that. And that's a sensible suggestion. I'll make sure it is actioned. Thank you.
Councillor London.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we would all agree that better recycling has rolled out in a fairly good way. It's a testament to our council employees, from those that planned it all the way through to those that collected the bins. A couple of thoughts from Exning residents I did promise to feed through, which is that we've now in the odd situation where brown bins are on a different day to the rest of the bins, which means you end up with 2 different bin days, which is quite confusing. And seeing as we could figure out how to get them on the same day previously, it doesn't seem like it would be too difficult to be able to do that in the future. And also, we probably need to review the collection rotas for blue and green bins, because we do seem to be getting a lot more stuff in the blue and less in the green, or at least some residents are reporting that. I've had a couple of residents reporting the opposite, but either way, would it be possible to just have a quick review of the system to make sure that these wrinkles are ironed out?
Thanks, John, for that question. I mean, it's been a massive operation to roll this out, and I take my hat off to Councillor Taylor and the team that he works with. there are still some teething problems. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure all of us have had residents contact us. I must admit, in my case, I managed to get the question resolved pretty quickly. Perhaps that's because I'm the leader. I don't know. I hope it's not. But so once the scheme has settled down, once we've seen how it works, then obviously that's the time to review it. I mean, there is a possibility to make adjustments in the short term, and I'm sure Councillor Taylor-Dave's taken that on board, and we'll go away and look at it and see how it can be sorted. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Chair. I don't like to be critical of the council, but I've got no option on this particular occasion. Mildenhall bus station, it's gone on for years, and recently was notified that work's going to start at the end of summer, and hopefully that will be completed by the spring. There doesn't seem that this is a general thing for the council that I find. There doesn't seem ever to be anybody that drives a project to its conclusion. If this was a private business, we'd have gone bust a long while ago. But being a public business, everything seems to take so much long to get anything done. And it doesn't just apply to the bus shelter, it applies to many things. I'll use the word markets, and here we are going round in circles on that as well. But just in general, so many things. If somebody would take ownership of a project and see it to its entirety, I'm sure things would speed along a lot quicker than they do. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I know you don't like to be critical, so well done for breaking a habit. Well, as you say, the bus station is finally coming to a close, and we're hoping it will be finished by spring next year. It has taken a long time. I think many of us feel that frustration that things do take a long time. I think the comparison with private enterprise is a little bit unfair because perhaps we have to be a little bit more careful. We're using public money. We can't take chances, so we perhaps are a bit more risk averse. So I don't know what to say really. I would love to speed things up. I'd love us to do things more quickly. We are where we are. We've got a list of priorities that we need to get seen through to completion by the end of the term of this council, which is just under 2 years now. And everyone's working as hard as they can to get them done. But I do take your criticisms on board. Thank you.
Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Chair. Just really quick to endorse what Councillor Waterman has said about Barnham. I was there on Sunday. I was invited to speak. I went along to Thetford. I refused to take part in the march because of the unsavoury language and the things that I was hearing. I did walk, but separately, because I was there for the people of Barnham. I listened to speeches, and they were without doubt a recruitment for a certain political party. I met other councillors who thought it was unwise, but they should speak. And it's surprising, actually, how many people were uncomfortable. So I do endorse what you said about that rally. I think they're being hijacked personally. My question, if you forgive me, is about Forest City. It's not been taken forward through the current New Towns programme, and I welcome the Joint Council's objection, but the proposal has not gone away. I know it will continue to be pursued and may well outlive this council and the present political administrations. I support better regional strategic planning. However, I'm concerned that a future spatial development strategy could provide a route through which Forest City or a similar proposal is revived. Does the leader agree that any spatial development strategy must respect local plans, protect rural communities and valuable agricultural land, and must not facilitate the development of this scale without the clear support of the affected councils and communities?
Well, I'm tempted just to say yes to the question, but yeah, you're absolutely right, and it will be a mayoral level question, so a bit above our pay grade here. But obviously, the mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, I don't know his attitude, but I'm assuming he is as negative about it as most people are. I mean, look, it's a beautiful dream, isn't it? You know, you can have this great big town. It's going to have beautiful tree-lined avenues. It's going to have thousands of houses that are really dirt cheap. It's going to have, it's going to be nirvana. It's not going to happen. There is no financial backing. And I have to take my hat off to the people supporting it. They have done an amazingly good job of spinning something out of nothing. And it seems to be they're pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps. I don't think there's any point meeting with them myself, because I've read and heard enough about what they've said to know that there is no chance that this will happen. But I think while they're continually promoting it, they're kind of undermining what the rest of us are doing in terms of sensible development, and they're basically selling a false dream. And I think the sooner we get clarity that the government will not support it, the better. And in terms of your first point, thank you very much for that. I totally respect your decision to go and have a look for yourself. That's a decision I made not to do. And interesting to hear your feedback, and it's confirmed my worst fears. So thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffensperger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine's on a very similar question to Councillor Mason with regards to Forest City, and I thank the leader for the joint letter and the stance taken on Forest City, which I personally fully support. Although I did notice that it wasn't signed by Suffolk County Council, but that's by the by. And I guess it's your last statement with regards to keeping pressure on. But given there will be a possibility change of ministerial responsibilities, I'm just wondering what pressure we would put on to ensure that it doesn't get lost in the changeover. And also, you were very, and I think it was the right decision that we called an extraordinary meeting with regards to RAF Barnum, and the cross-party support gave you a strong mandate to write to the ministers. Forest Heath is a big issue as well. So would you consider bringing that to, Forest
City.
Forest City. It is obviously a major issue as well. So would you consider bringing that to get the full mandate of the council to full council as well?
I think that's a good idea. I think we'll take that idea forward. Thanks, Becky.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. I think that's all questions, and we didn't have to go into added time. On to item 7, which is the referrals report of recommendations to Cabinet. There are no referrals emanating from the last meeting of Cabinet on the 19th of May, so I'll move on to the next item, 8, which is the Withersfield Neighbourhood Plan, referendum and decision to make as a West Suffolk Development Plan document. I ask Councillor Stennett to introduce and move the motion.
Thank you, Chair. The neighbourhood plan will be part of the development plan for West Suffolk and be used in assessing planning applications. It has been written by the local community, the people who know and love the area. The preparation of this neighbourhood plan has followed a statutory process involving a public consultation at each stage and ending with a referendum. The neighbourhood plan was successful at the referendum held on the 7th of May 2026 with a clear majority voting in favour of the plan. The last step in the process is for West Suffolk Council to formally adopt the Wethersfield Neighbourhood Plan. The independent examiner has supported this plan, saying it's distinctive in addressing the issues that have been identified by the community to safeguard the character and the setting of the neighbourhood area. I'd like to congratulate Wethersfield Parish Council and the working group on the successful production of this excellent neighbourhood plan. Therefore, I move to read the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Stennett. Councillor Woodjanaika, I understand you wish to second the motion. Do you reserve your right to speak now or later?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second this, and I would like to speak now. Before it goes to the vote, I would like to thank everyone at the Parish Council for all their hard work to making this happen, in particular Councillors Stiles and Corona for getting this over the line, and also former Councillor Kinloch for setting this up and getting it off the ground. I would also like to thank the people of Withersfield for voting this through and obviously taking part in the process. It has been a very, very hard time for Withersfield, particularly with the biodigester plan that came through, and this does give local people a local voice. So I encourage everybody to vote in favour of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wijanayake. I now open the debate. I have Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Chair. I actually just want to point out what I think is an error on page 48, where it says examination point 3, and it starts the West Row neighbourhood plan. I believe that should actually say the Withersfield neighbourhood plan. Thank you.
We'll make sure that's corrected, Councillor Higgins. I have no other people wishing to speak on this. So I will ask Councillor Stennett if he wishes to close the motion. In that case, we will go to the vote. All those in favour? Okay. Any against? And any abstentions? The motion's carried. Thank you. On to item 9, which is the West Row Neighbourhood Plan referendum and decision to make as a West Suffolk Council development document. And again, I ask Councillor Stennett to move the motion.
Thank you, Chair. It gives me great pleasure to introduce another neighbourhood plan, at this time for West Row. I would like to welcome members of the working group and the West Row Parish Council this evening, or online here. I would also like to thank them for the effort they've put into preparing this plan and working closely with the local community. The neighbourhood plan forms part of the development plan for West Suffolk and will be used when assessing planning applications. The preparation of this neighbourhood plan has followed the same statutory process, including a referendum. The neighbourhood plan was successful at the referendum held on the 7th of May 2026, with a clear majority voting in favour. The last step in this process is for this council, West Suffolk Council, to formally adopt the West Row neighbourhood plan. The independent examiner has supported this plan by saying it has effectively identified and addressed local issues. I would like to congratulate West Row Parish Council and the working group on the successful production of this excellent neighbourhood plan. Therefore, I move the recommendations set out in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Stennett. Councillor Waldron, I understand you wish to second this motion. Do you reserve your right to speak now or later?
No, I'm quite happy. I don't think I need to speak now or later. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waldron. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? I can't see anybody. Councillor Stennett? Happy to move the motion. Thank you. So in that case, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Is everybody? Any against? And any abstentions? Nope, the motion is carried. Thank you. On to item 10, which is the annual scrutiny report for 25-26. The council, this item is for noting, by the way, no decision is required. The council's constitution does require that the council receives an annual report from its scrutiny committees. So firstly to Councillor Broughton as chair of overview and scrutiny. I'll ask you to introduce and present that part of the report.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to thank the committee who work very hard. We have 5 meetings a year. July is when we see the West Suffolk Council annual report. We have that again on this Thursday. In September last year of 2025, the West Suffolk Alliance, NHS Suffolk and North Essex Integrated Care Board. I'd like to thank the cabinet members who came to present to us and answer some questions. The then cabinet member, Councillor Thorndike, he came to talk in July on Section 106 monies and SIL. And then Councillor Shipp came in November 25 to talk about sports provision within the district, which was very interesting. Councillor Diane Hind came in January 26 to talk about the council's property assets. She had agreed to come in November 26 to come back to her, but I understand she needs to attend the St Edmunds Day dinner that night, so we'll have to move that to January or later in the year. And Councillor Stennett came to us in March to talk to us about the new West Suffolk local plan, which is very interesting. At all of our meetings, we also look at Western Suffolk Community Safety Partnership. We also have representatives on the Suffolk County Council Police and Crime Panel, Councillor David Smith and Councillor Mike Chester, and they come to report to us. And Suffolk County Council Health Scrutiny Committee. And at this moment, I'm afraid we do not have an appointed representative on the Health Scrutiny Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broughton. I'll present the PASC element of the report, and just like to say you have the report in front of you. I'm sure you've all read it. I think it's a lovely touch that Christine Cornt put a little sort of personal piece in there. She is a great addition to the team, our co-opted member. Thank you again, Councillor Hind, who seems to bear the brunt of all the presentations from Cabinet to the committee and does a splendid job. The committee itself, I think there's not a better bunch of scrutineers as far as I'm concerned. And thank you to the officers who are always professional, always transparent, always willing to answer questions as best they can at the meetings. And certainly if they need to follow up, they follow up with great transparency and knowledge. So I will just ask if there are any questions for Councillor Broughton and me. Councillor Hind.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. I just thought I'd clarify really that the only reason is that I have asked to attend overview and scrutiny in January next year rather than November. It's not because I simply want to go to a dinner, but I am attending the dinner in question as the Deputy Mayor of Bury St Edmunds, and I couldn't have done that with the meeting being in Mildenhall. So I reluctantly had to say, if it's in Bury, it's fine, but if it's not, and very kindly, Councillor Broughton has agreed that I can go in the January. So I'm really grateful for that. But I just wanted the rest of the council to know, actually, I wasn't going on a jolly, and this is very much in my other role as Deputy Mayor of Bury St Edmunds. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. I hope you enjoy yourself anyway.
You'll be there.
I haven't any further questions, and this item, just to remind you, is for noting. So we'll move on to item 11, which is a motion on notice, the practical environmental stewardship, local resilience and value for money in West Suffolk. Under section 9 of the council procedure rules, Councillor Jan Jarvis has given notice of this motion. Just to remind each member that, including the proposer and seconder, you may speak once for a maximum of 3 minutes on the motion. The proposer does have the right of reply at the conclusion of the debate for 3 minutes. So I'll ask Councillor Jarvis to introduce and move the motion.
Thank you, Claire. Claire? Chair.
It's very pretty.
Compose myself. I must be honest, when I first thought about putting this motion in, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say, but with this unprecedented heat wave and with the alarming reports of rising temperatures around the globe, I felt that now may be the time to remind ourselves of our responsibility as a local authority to continue to build environmental resilience in our region. Now, some of us remember the 4-minute warning, the public information films. In the event of a nuclear attack, one should hide under the table or put a bag over their head. I think that was one of the instructions. And that's how unprepared we were for something potentially cataclysmic. Now, we may now be facing one of the greatest challenges humanity has ever faced. But in this case, we finally have a chance to prepare. Now, I think this is a remarkable opportunity, and we must be mindful not to squander it. Now, somewhere between climate alarmism and climate denialism lies a pragmatic path forward. While we cannot control geopolitical and environmental pressures from other countries, what we can do is build resilience in our region. Now, the risks we face are not remote, neither abstract. Flooding, extreme heat, pressure on infrastructure, energy resilience and damage to the natural environment all have direct consequences for our communities, our public assets and the services we provide. And that is exactly why West Suffolk has been investing in practical environmental stewardship from the previous administration to this one. We are cutting energy use, helping residents and businesses reduce costs, strengthening local resilience and delivering tangible value for taxpayers. Even if there were no climate crisis, these things would still make sense. They make economic sense, they make social sense, and they make common sense. And they are exactly what good stewardship of public money looks like. Now, when I look to the future, I try to do so with a sense of optimism. I still envisage clean streets, a vibrant and prosperous circular economy, cleaner air, more green spaces, and thriving biodiversity. And isn't it astonishing that we are already living in an era of enlightenment with technology that allows us to create energy from the elements, to capture that unbridled, mysterious force and to convert it into power. And at the same time, protect the very planet that gives us these incredible gifts. Now, history is unwritten, but it's our duty as a council to make sure the very best decisions are made so we can protect our future. I move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jarvis. I gather that Councillor Bull wishes to second this motion. Do you reserve the right to speak now, Councillor?
Thank you. I was pleased to be asked to second this motion. And I do think it's something we should all support regardless of our individual politics, because climate change is something that affects us all regardless. I think the term practical environmental stewardship is the key to this, because we should be looking after our environment. To date, unlike some other councils, West Suffolk Council hasn't just talked about the need to react to climate change, but has got on and done things. And it is important that with local government reorganisation in the offing and all the other changes on the horizon, that this work is not lost and continues and develops. Again, I say it talks about practical environmental stewardship, and I do think this is what it is all about. We have a duty to look after the world we live in, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come. And importantly, the motion also acknowledges the need for financial responsibility in this work, and that the objectives that we set should be practical and achievable. And therefore, I would commend this motion to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bull. We have members wishing to speak on this item. First of all, Councillor Higgins.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to support this motion wholeheartedly for all the reasons that Jan has pointed out to us, and for all the things that are written in the motion. I would like to add a personal opinion to go alongside that. I think that only by reducing our dependency on fossil fuel do we reduce our dependency on some of the global effects that we've seen affecting our cost of living. I'm referring to the wars that we've seen in other countries. More specifically, we don't have ultimate control over what a lot of other foreign countries do, but what we can do is support our own resilience. So I think this is resilience in terms of economic resilience, resilience in terms of climate resilience, and also perhaps even national security issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Councillor Wakelam.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like, first of all, to thank Councillors Jarvis and Bull for bringing this motion before Council. It's an extremely important motion to reaffirm our commitments. So on 19th September 2019, this Council declared a climate emergency. This was under the previous administration, and that was later amended Declaration of Climate and Environmental Emergency. And have no doubt about it, without being apocalyptic, these emergencies are real. They are primarily human-made, and they are existential in the threat they pose to the human race. One small statistics to evidence this. A team at Imperial College, the Met Office, and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine estimated that over 2,700 people in England and Wales died from heat-related causes during the heatwave experienced in May and June this year. And it was really good to read in the leaders' statements the steps that we've taken to help our residents. At the same meeting in 2019, the Council approved the setting up of the Environment and Climate Change Task Force, which reported in 2020 with an action plan, now updated annually, which this Council, through our officers and supported by councillors, has followed since with considerable success. Our annual environmental statements show that success and the impacts that it's had on our communities. For example, through the provision of LED lighting to village and community halls throughout West Suffolk, as well as the replacement of costly and environmentally damaging streetlights. And the leader's statement tonight contains further examples of this sterling work. Our work as a council to combat the climate and environmental emergencies has developed with the All-Party Environment and Sustainability Reference Group, which I had the honour to chair, and which has already had an impact through initiatives such as the reverse vending machines and the small electricals recycling banks, and which will get engaged positively with the emerging local plan. Those initiatives are small, but they have a considerable impact. They're practical and they have not actually impacted our economics at all, thanks to the work of councillors such as Councillor Jarvis and our officers. So Suffolk County Council also declared a climate emergency in 2019, which led to the formation of the Climate Change Partnership. This council has played a leading part in that partnership, and its work too has materially helped our communities, for example, through energy-saving projects for residents and businesses. But now there is a seductive drumbeat sounding for some people. We cannot afford this work to combat climate change and halt environmental
Councillor Wakelam, we're very near time.
We're in a cost of living crisis and councils are cash-strapped. That's true. What's also true is that we as a nation, as a responsible public body, cannot afford to stop this work if we are to thrive long term. Therefore, and I will finish now, Chair, thank you for your indulgence. We do have the knowledge, we just need the will, and this council has exhibited that will to help our communities adapt and develop resilience. So I urge you to support this motion, and those of you who are county councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Wakelam.
Councillor
Wakelam, I think, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wijanayake.
Thank you, Chair. I applaud Councillor Jarvis and Councillor Bull for putting this motion forward and for making it cross-party. I think it's really vital that all parties recognise the climate emergency. And, you know, it needs to be noted that we in East Anglia are one of the driest regions, or if not the driest region in the country. And when we heard from the leader in terms of Forest City and people objecting to Forest City and why we have objected to Forest City or raising concerns around Forest City, you know, there is agricultural land at stake here. And, you know, we have to recognise that if we don't take the climate change emergency seriously, that dry county, our dry area, our dry region will become drier and drier. And that agricultural land that we're trying to protect will become drier and drier, and there won't be anything to protect. So I implore everybody to take this seriously and to vote in favour of this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wijanayake. Councillor Yarrow.
Thank you, Chair. This clearly is a cross-party issue. So some here might recognise that I don't acknowledge the legacy of Mrs. Thatcher as being a very positive one, except speaking in 1989, her speech to the United Nations General Assembly. A few extracts from her speech might be worthy of consideration. I quote, "Of all the challenges faced by the world community, one has grown clearer than any other in both urgency and importance. I refer to the threat of our global environment." She goes on, what we are now doing to the world by degrading the land surfaces, by polluting the waters, and by adding greenhouse gases to the air at an unprecedented rate, all this is new in the experience of the Earth. It is mankind and his activities which are changing the environment of our planet in damaging and dangerous ways. Every country will be affected and no one can opt out. She ends up, we are trustees of this planet. And that was nearly 40 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yarrow. Councillor Brown.
Right, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Chair. Well, just listen to the fine words of some of my colleagues here, and I would just like to comment that, there's a lot of hypocrisy being spoken here. Some of these same people in this room, every month at planning, pass applications for hundreds of houses across our beautiful West Suffolk countryside, concrete in millions of tons of concrete, displacing greater crested newts, dormice, etc. Our town in Haverhill has absolutely been hammered by development, and giving residents grants for a few solar panels does not actually achieve anything other than just highlight the whole hypocrisy of it. Do we support sustainable bus services? No, we don't do any of the big stuff that we should be doing. All we do is come out with fine words and a few little trimmings around the end of it. So I won't be voting for this because I don't think it means anything. So I'll abstain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Rokes.
Thank you, Chair. Flash flooding in Ipswich followed almost immediately by a heatwave. You can't make it up, can you? I'm pleased to see the Council taking this step to reaffirm our support towards resolving the climate crisis and recognising the problem it poses. Climate change and the response to it must come pragmatically, affordably and effectively, and I'm glad to see the motion recognise this. In the face of a county council that wants to rescind their declaration of the climate crisis, it's incredibly important that we now reaffirm our own commitment, and I'm extremely happy to see this happening, especially in the cross-party nature it's happening in. Adaptation is also a key point we must consider, and it's why, before I end, I'd like to thank the Council for activating SWEP in the face of the heatwave. Equally, Councillor Higgins raises a great point about the energy independence that can be granted by the move towards renewable energy. Let us continue to fight against the climate crisis and support all those in our communities affected by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oates. Councillor Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Unsurprisingly, I will be supporting the motion. I think no two ways about it at all. If you have any doubt about whether there is an emergency, ask anyone who works in agriculture or, for that matter, health, which is becoming an alarming issue as well. I think the other thing we need to bear in mind is actually our population wants us to do it, because we have taken the entirely pragmatic approach that all the projects we have done do produce either a financial benefit or some other benefit for our residents, as well as building the resilience. For instance, this is going a bit wider than merely West Suffolk, but in Suffolk itself, the Switch Together scheme in the last 3 years has had over 7,500 households registering for the scheme. That's absolutely evidence that our population are interested. And the other figure that has come up fairly recently is that near as damn it, if you'll excuse the expression, 80% are still concerned, and 70% are also saying it is a national issue. Central government and other local governments must take action. So, as I say, I most certainly will be supporting.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Hind.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll just really be very brief. I think probably we have all seen in recent days the wildfires that have occurred in Europe, and we shouldn't think that this can't happen here. I was reminded as walking in my garden this afternoon with Councillor Sayer just how crispy the grass is. Well, it's more like straw, isn't it? And a couple of interesting statistics is that in 2025, fire rescue services in England and Wales responded to nearly 1,000 wildfire incidents, which surpassed the previous record set in 2022. And actually, wildfires aren't exclusively in Europe, but in the UK. You all might recall that in 2025, Scotland experienced the UK's first, I think it was the first ever mega fire, and it burnt over 10,000 hectares in the Highlands. And it doesn't take very much. I think we probably all remember as children trying to see whether you could use a piece of glass, and it's so easy for a fire to start that way, and when the grass is so dry. So I think we do owe it to everybody to, if we can help in any way, because there are so many ways that we can. Gerald has highlighted a lot, as well as have other colleagues, but I just think we should do it, and so I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hind. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Chair. I do enjoy a good quote from Margaret Thatcher, so thank you, Councillor Yarrow, for that. I voted for the original climate emergency. I never particularly liked the phrase, because you can stand in front of a fire and shout, fire, fire, fire. The question is what we're going to do about it. And what I like about this motion is that actually it doesn't use the phrase climate emergency anywhere in it. And it's quite pragmatic. It's focused on what are the things that are deliverable that would constitute good stewardship. And I think the other thing that I think councils have the ability to do is to be a role model, to spread out the message. I mean, we can say whether the better or simpler recycling that is nationwide is an attempt to increase recycling rates, which of course has an environmental benefit. And to try and get our community engaged with understanding the importance of recycling, of course, is worthwhile. Even down to the Great British Spring Clean that I organise in Haverhill every year. It's about engaging the community, and we are very well supported in Haverhill by West Suffolk Council, the waste team, who support the litter picking that goes on there. So as regards this motion, I like it. I think it talks about stewardship. It talks about what is financially reasonable. We have to be careful with taxpayers' money. We can spend unlimited amounts, but it won't necessarily change this situation of climate change. But I think the overall message of this motion is we should do whatever we can where reasonable. And it's the act of trying that is the message that we're sending out to our communities, but we're not turning a blind eye to the global challenge. So for me, I would have always preferred it to be the climate challenge in terms of what are we doing to try and address some of the issues. And I think that motion achieves that. I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. I have no other speakers, so I'd ask Councillor Jarvis to close and move to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank everybody for their eloquent contributions tonight, on both sides of the House. It means a lot to me, climate change, and I'm really concerned. Now, scientists have been warning governments about climate change for decades. Carl Sagan spoke about our responsibility to protect the planet, and scientists were giving evidence to Congress in the United States nearly 40 years ago. And here in Haverhill, we have our very own Tony Brown. And actually, I've got to say to Tony, I'm disappointed you're not supporting it, but I absolutely sympathise with a lot of the stuff you're saying. We should be doing more. We should be protecting our green spaces. We should be protecting wildlife. It's absolutely pertinent of you to bring those up. But I am disappointed you're not supporting this. But, this is about pragmatism. It is about recognising that building resilience, reducing waste, improving energy efficiency and protecting biodiversity is something that we can do and something that we should continue to do. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Jarvis. We now move to the vote. All those in favour? Okay. Sorry, any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. On to item 12, which is any other urgent business, of which there is none. So I therefore declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for attending. Members, please leave by that door, the east side. I don't know if there are members of the public, but if they could leave the building immediately via the front doors in the reception area. Thank you. Great.
Well done.
Well done. No panics.